I'm Rose Knox-Peebles. I'm 81. I have 4 children, 6 grandchildren, and I'm soon to be a great-grandmother. And what I do, if you've brought up 4 children, you'll know there's quite a lot involved in that. I write, I collect art, which has been my kind of passion since I was, I think, 21. So I've been doing it for a long time. We lived in the house next door, which was far too big for us when the children left home. So we sold it, but we kept the garage, which was quite a big garage. And we found architects. I asked RIBA for architects who liked art, who liked modern houses, who understood the sea, because the sea here is very stormy. It can be quite dangerous. And I needed someone who understood the sea. And got these wonderful architects, and they were very good. They humoured me in my passion for art and where on earth I could put it all. So we had the Sir John Soane Museum panels, and I've got a wonderful pitch black cupboard downstairs with a fibre optic work in it. And they generally let me do what I wanted. One of the things was the mesh, which you'll have noticed on the walls, which is, I remember seeing a heist film where a picture was stolen from a gallery, and all the pictures in the gallery where they stored them were hung on these mesh things. I thought, brilliant, because at home in London, the walls are pockmarked, so I'm forever moving things around to make space for more things. But with this wonderful mesh stuff, you just hook it on. So that was brilliant, and they let me do that. And they gave me the staircase to do, the design for the staircase. And I looked at all these staircases in London going down to the area, because they're usually in some way interesting. They have patterns. Couldn't find anything. And then I thought, the shipping bulletin. And then I thought, you can't cut all the shipping bulletin words out of steel. It wouldn't be possible. So a friend of mine said Morse code. And that was absolutely brilliant. And the lovely thing about this was that it's made by some quite elderly fabricators because they had the skills, and they knew Morse code, and they found 2 mistakes and they put them right. That was lovely. My relationship with Outside In began with Scotty Wilson. Palland House was having a Scotty show, and someone must have told them that I had a lot of Scotties, and Simon, not Simon, I can't remember his name, the one before, came over with Marc, and they saw the Scotties, and Marc must have spotted all of the other outsider art I have, because I landed up, luckily, at Gallery 1, run by Victor Musgrave. I don't know which he is, which was the best thing I could have done, because he was very interesting. He was kind of the leading galleryist for outsider art, and also the Circle Gallery was another one. And I don't know why I was so drawn to it. My parents had a lot of paintings, but they'd been conventional ones, mainly old sailing boats. And my great-great-aunt had been a painter. But there was I was hooked. I mean, it became a vice. I couldn't stop. So I collect, and I collect, and I collect, and I collect, and I move them around to make space for another one. And the whole thing with Outside In was that I had so many outsider artists without actually knowing what they were. I didn't know there was a special category called outsider art. I just assumed they were artists. And that was lovely, because Marc invited me to sort of join them. And it's huge now. But then we started off, I think we held our meetings in Ask, an Italian restaurant opposite the cathedral. There were about 5 of us. So we sat around this table drinking coffee. That was how it began. And how it's grown, it's been absolutely staggering. And it means that it is right. It's grown so well and so solidly. That's saying that they're doing the right thing, and that they are making these artists able to control their own lives and to get great joy from art, and they give us great joy too. So it's the best thing I've done in my life, I think, to be part of it. that mirror, and you'll see later on some tiny, tiny drawings by her. This is an old one, and it's not much bigger than she is. And that is Martin Turp, and he was losing his sight when he painted that. And people have said to me, how can you bear to have that in your room? And I really love it. It's full of anguish, but the colours are so cheerful. And underneath it is Kate Bradbury. And you want to remember what that's like, because you will see some very different things later on. This is an extraordinary drawing. It has some of the characteristics that others have, with lots of circles and very detailed, but it has something on the back. It has this incredibly sad letter to someone called Frank, who has obviously let her down, and she's telling him that he's made her very, very unhappy, but that she will always be his friend. But she ends up with, I want to tell you that you have made me very unhappy. And her name is Sophie.
And it was drawn in Paris, wasn't it?
Yes, in Paris.
Rose, this was the first piece by Carlo Casciuccia you bought from the outside in exhibition in 2009.
Was, yes. I mean, I was dazzled by the colour.
Yes.
I couldn't make out what it was. It must have been hung on a wall somewhere.
Yes.
But no, there's something, I don't know what it is, that moves me to really want, it's advice, to really want something. And I really wanted that.
I remember Carlo bringing it in. His father had driven down from London and had tied it to the top of a car. And on the motorway, it had blown off. And it was all mangled and broken and screwed up.
Somebody did a good repair job.
Well, I repaired it, so it had a big tear. So I remember restretching the picture for Carlo and fixing the tear, and I was so pleased that I'd made the effort.
Yeah.
And
I'm pleased too. Otherwise, I wouldn't have
great
it.
picture, isn't
Yes,
it? It is. And I mean, writing and the use of words is like being continuous through his work,
Yes.
isn't it? Since Rose.
There are, I think, 3,000 words or something in that. And actually, he's been transcribing them lately.
Yes.
With a red line going through bits he's done. And I said to him at some point over the years, I bought your first. And he said he was going to stop at 12. So I said, please can I buy your 12th one? So eventually, there it is, the 12th one with 37,000 words, all of which he can read. I find this absolutely incredible.
I love that you've got Nick Blinko below.
Yes, it's different. Yeah. It's the same thing, tiny, tiny words, but in a very different style.
Yes.
And I understand he has a thing about popes.
I'm
not sure what it is.
Well, because Pope Adrian came from where he lives in... Oh, was it? Oh, I can't remember the place now. My mind slipped. But he did the sort of a book all about... because he's the only British Pope ever. And he came from the town he lives in.
How interesting.
Yes. But I think there's something...
There is the Pope.
There's
It
the
took
Pope.
a long time finding the Pope.
Pope Adrian the Fourth? Is it Pope Adrian the... Yeah, no, it's a wonderful book he produced about...
So I've got one lovely book you brought me.
Yes.
Absolutely. Was it purple?
Yes.
Yes.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Yes.
But he said this thing to me. We were sitting at one of the parties. He was on that big sofa. And he said, I said something, I forgot my pill, damn it. And he said, I haven't taken mine either. And then he said, I'm a psychopath. He wasn't acting like a psychopath at all.
No. But have you ever seen his band? Listen to the music?
No.
Oh, honestly, Rose, it's like raucous, wonderful, sort of anarchic punk.
Yes. This is an artist in the Isle of Wight, and we went there for a holiday once, and I don't know how we found her, but she had a fairly big cottage, and when you went in, these were everywhere. I mean, she had absolutely everywhere. And I said, they're absolutely beautiful. And said, can we buy one? And she said, what do you want? Which one do you want? And it was totally, utterly impossible. So eventually, I just said, what are they doing? They like the, went to see a boat, whatever it was, they went to see a Pussycat. Yeah. And she said, they're heading for the rainbow, they're escaping. And I was interested in the maze, because I don't think a maze stands for escape, but I didn't tackle her with that. She also made for Brian, which I'm keeping, because Brian loves swimming, the swimming boy, which is the same colour and is absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
So and she came to a party here, and she brought, it's downstairs, it's unglazed terracotta model of a woman stitching a handkerchief, which is what they used to do. And she brought that all the way from the Isle of Wight. She came here from the Isle of Wight just to go to a tea party.
Really?
So I really like her. And I asked her to send me some images, because I would like another one. And she just sent me pictures of the room. I had to send her, so I just can't, I don't know what to do. So we only have this and the swimming boy, which is Brian's.
A little bit like there's some, is it Staffordshire figures? That sort of naive.
Yes,
they have that sort of quality. They're quite charming, aren't they, Rose?
And the use of colour, because Staffordshire figures have got terrific colour.
Yes, no, they're gorgeous.
I didn't get one of the ivory ones. I think they were more expensive or something. I couldn't afford them. But I was going for size. I mean, I like this fella very much, because he kind of stands. He stands above the bar. Look at his face. Isn't it adorable?
Yeah.
And his hat. So I had to have him. And then this one was different. I like things that are different. It's got this extraordinary door handle for a tail, which in fact moves. It's like a peacock. And then, because of the scale, I went for one of the smallest that there were. But nonetheless, I think this is a rather vicious little animal.
Yeah.
I think it's a screw, and I think it could probably do a lot of damage if it got into a battle. So I'm just hoping that he keeps charge and doesn't let them.
Oh, I love Marcus' work. I think he had that thing which some artists have, when they see faces and everything.
Yes.
I had the exhibition at Pallant called Wunderkammer, which had like a wall of all the casts and carvings,
Yes.
And he'd work in sort of tribes of people. So he'd do like a series, and then he'd box them up carefully. And because, he fled Vienna just before, the sort of Nazis took over. And I always felt the work was a little bit about him trying to recreate his lost life and history. And he never sold anything. And his house was just full of work.
I would love to have seen it. His shed, I would love to have. I love places that are packed full.
Yes.
But now I can see these are not as obviously people as the other ones, but there is something very human about them and vulnerable. So that one I'm not so sure about. Might be on the other side.
I do love his work very, very much.
Too.
Yes.
Well, these Ben has been developing, as you will see on this sort of virtual tour, from sort of fairly ordinary, in the sense that they're recognisable things and they're made with paints or oil pastel or something, to chewing gum. And he conceived this lovely idea that the chewing gum was very ugly and it was all over where he lived in North London, and he would paint on it to make it beautiful, which he did. And he's sort of working his way around North London. And people used to come out and say to him, was a hairdresser in particular, came out and said, please, will you do me a hairbrush? And people would stop him and they'd want their name on it. They would want something, it's like a request programme, schoolgirls would say, will you do us both together, please? And he did. And he was this very familiar figure, crouched on the pavement, high-vis jacket with the same open up with all his stuff in. And if there wasn't any gum, he'd chew the gum himself. He then set it and did it with a blowtorch. He was very conscious of keeping things. It's no longer rubbish. It must be preserved quite too. And these are cigarette stubs. That actually came as quite a shock. I hadn't expected cigarette stubs, but they're wonderful.
They are.
I mean, it's the fact that he can make whole pictures out of the most minute space, but they're real, and there are all these little people. You actually need a magnifying glass, and he has all sorts of goings on. He obviously has an interesting love life. He has a lot of naked ladies
I love the fact that you're painting chewing gum on the street, and in a way, it's sort of no longer about art as a commodity, is it? You can't buy a piece of chewing gum on the street.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, isn't it? And it's a social, has a purpose, doesn't it?
It had the purpose of cleaning the place up. And when he came round to the one that you got a photograph of me standing in the door for the cottage, opposite was a pub. And the pub landlady came over and said, "Would you do one for us?" So he did some sort of brimming beer mugs on them. So I think they'll have gone, unfortunately, but I sometimes would like to walk back along that road, see if they're still there.
And I love it. I love the fact that, he's commissioned to paint chewing gum.
Yes. Picked by a pub.
And if you like the Millennium Bridge, which you just mentioned, over many years he's painted each piece of chewing gum on the Millennium Bridge. I remember Ben getting in touch with me in a great panic because they were going to steam clean all the chewing gum off the bridge.
But he's snuck inside. Have you seen the ones inside?
Inside, yes.
Which he
hides them in there.
So I was supposed to be, for him, a character witness. He'd been arrested, and it seemed so awful. That's his 2 arrests he's had. I'll talk about the other one downstairs. And because he's big, he's very articulate. I think the police are rather scared of him, so they arrested him. And he rang me up and said, "Would I be a character witness?" Which I thought was the most lovely thing to ask me. And I said, "Well, you have to tell me an idea of characters, except you talk a lot and you're very political and you're definitely..." And I said, "You eat a lot of croissants. You come across and have breakfast with us and eat a lot of croissants. You talk and talk and talk." But anyhow, that's Ben. That's Ben.
Oh, lovely Ben. Tropical. And then the parrot under the arm. And she was, but she was in again the 2009 exhibition. Do you remember she had a really large hanging piece?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was 2,000.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have bought it, but I couldn't afford 2,000, so I went for the very little ones. This is the thing about collecting. You have to collect, even if you're getting something tiny when you really like it gigantic. You have to have it. So,
what about, and also, Rose, in terms of collecting, you form very strong relationships with the artists you collect. So is that as important as the work?
It is important. I mean, particularly with our artists. I was thinking about that. I really love them for all sorts of reasons. And it's awful when they go like Jackie and Stephen. I really miss them because they've meant a lot. I think it's the example they set us of what they're able to do, what they do. And you don't want to say a word like able even, because of course they can do it.
Yes.
Which is why I love your setup so much.
And I mean, I know that the artists get a huge amount from having the connection.
Just signature.
Yes.
Gosh, I never knew. You sign pieces.
Of course, they need to be signed. Wonderful. So we saw that lovely drawing upstairs, didn't we, Rose? A really detailed ink drawing. But this is by the same artist.
This is by the same artist. This is what's so amazing about it. And as are the chaps in the utility room. This was very, very scary. These are piano keys. Now, I wouldn't have known that. And Cate gets all her material, she says, from outside her door, including the suitcases that the men are made out of, and presumably a little piano must have landed up outside her door. So she got these.
I think these could go together.
Yes, absolutely. Get out. This is my table. Go away. And he comes steaming up. I mean, I love them.
They're lovely, aren't they?
They're just wonderful.
They are wonderful. I love that. When things are made like recycled or repurposed objects,
and they're completely incomprehensible. Unless you knew about pianos, which I don't. You wouldn't dream that it was a bit of a piano. I wouldn't anyhow.
Yes, they're great.
This is Cate again. You open it up, and there are all these birds, and this is a feather. She always does this. But the other thing is the thing she says. Squalls and murmurations unsettle the quiet hills. And there's another one down the stairs which says something which I absolutely adore, so we'll look at that one too. Every so often Ben would say, "Help! I desperately need the rent money or something." And one of them was the other one that you have.
Yes,
that was quite a lot of red money.
Yes.
But I mean, but this one was again sort of a plea. Would you like one?
Yes.
And I really would, particularly this one. I think it's Adam and Eve, or it's something like that. And I love these pods.
Wonderful.
And it's so beautifully done, and it's so, I don't know, it's so touching. Look at her at the top, desperate for him to come up.
Didn't he made that because he used to make sculptures in woods and copse, and he made this giant. Which no one knew he'd made it, and he made it, then people would...
That's one of the things, that's what he's doing in the story downstairs in Finland. He'd been commissioned.
Yes.
And I'll tell the other story about the commission as well. But no, that was wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. It's very nice.
In his garden, there are giant figures.
And he built all those different little houses for his children in the garden.
Oh, I know.
And that big hole, he said, his son once said, what happens if you keep digging? So he started digging the hole just to see where it'd get to.
That's typical. He terrified me. When we first met, this little boy was 4, and he gave him 2 blocks of wood, another bit of wood, and an electric drill. Really? And he said, no, he was absolutely right. They were absolutely used to it. And I've met other woodworkers since then who happily give their tiny children electric drills. I was sitting at home in a village called Rotherfield in Sussex, watching the television news, and there were some amazing paintings came up. They were of, I think, somebody called Boyd, and they were judges' heads, and they were like Easter Island heads. And I'd never bought a painting or anything. I was very shy. I never went anywhere, and I was compelled, to go to the Rotherfield station, get the little branch line into Tunbridge Wells, change, go to London, find Gallery 1 where these were, and then when I got there, the show was finished. However, I'd landed on Victor Musgrave, and which is quite something to have done, actually, because he was quite special, and he particularly loved this kind of art, and he found him, Sturgis Leaf, because he was exhibiting his paintings on the railing. I don't know if it was Battersea or Hyde Park, but definitely on the railings. And the rather sad thing is, about 10, 15 years ago, I thought I'd try and track him down and find out what he's doing now. And his wife answered the phone, and I said, please, I collect his work, can I talk to him? Is he there? And she said, no, he won't talk to you. He's not interested in art at all now. He's making doll's house furniture. So that was very sad. However, the Victor Musgrave connection was rather interesting. I went there to collect another painting to where he lived, which is in a big, flat, white stucco building at Hyde Park Corner. And I went in, and he had with him, I wasn't as impressed as I should have been, Rosemary Tonks, who was the daughter of, was it Henry Tonks?
Yes, Henry Tonks.
And George Macbeth, who I'd heard of, who's a poet. And they were playing some mad game with postcards. So he sat me down on the sofa, and I was supposed to join in. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And when I left with the picture under my arm, he said, trouble with you, Rose, is you're just not kinky. Which says a lot about what he was like, and rather what I was like. So, that's nice. These are by Ben, obviously, and they're because people like me got fed up with that they're getting worn out. But he did them for us on our doorsteps. People walked all over them. So he did these on bricks, so you can have them, which is lovely. And he does so much variety. I mean, these are mad little people, and they're mainly naked, and they're mainly running after each other. And this is the most lovely, lovely scene of a lake. And they're probably tiny people leaping about there. And the one at the end is a snail, and it's suddenly like a normal picture, but I love it. It's a snail. And while I've got you there, this is another of Kate Bradbury's little things, and this is the one you have to read the writing. Their arms are too long and their sleeves are too short, which I think is wonderful. It bears no relevance at all to the little brick prison.
Well, maybe it's somebody who can't get out.
Yes.
These windowers.
Or they can't use their sleeves to jump down. Like, yes. It was for the words. I love words in paintings.
Yes.
I phone for there I am. And lots of rubbish from what people say. Apparently, the writing is on my wall.
Yeah, Facebook
So
wall.
that's
on my
it.
Facebook wall. Yes.
That I didn't understand. I used it to network something other, but it's sort I used to have something to say. Now I just have to say something. That's what I like.
Yes.
People like something to say to people like me.
Yeah. Because I mean, Danielle first again exhibited in 2009.
Yeah, a baby's head.
No, it's her face, and it's called Swallow, and it's like she's been forced to swallow something. Do you remember? It's like
what was the name of the director then?
Stefan.
That's it. Yes, with Scott.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. He chose that. I remember.
But because she was in prison when she'd submitted that.
Yes.
Then there's her prize. She had a solo show at the gallery, and then her journey in life. You know,
she's incredible.
She's incredible.
She's very like a power woman now.
She sold everything in Paris, and she's a trustee.
Yes.
You know, and I think those sort of journeys are, I think, where we succeeded best, right? Isn't it? You know, she's amazing. Her work now is incredible.
Yeah, she's very much out.
Yes.
Out in front, as it were, but I like some of the quieter ones.
Yes.
She's just as successful as people. But, but no, I think she's great. I was very impressed by her. I wanted to buy something else.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That was particularly beautiful because of the contrast between black and gold, and the fact that he could stick to one colour. I mean, his colours are incredible. Yes. Masses and masses of colours in the same picture, really going crazy. But in these two, it's very, very restrained.
Yes.
But it's so effective because of that. I got into terrible trouble with this with Jane. Jane and Monica were having a fight over Ben, and also over hip press. And I got into such a battle.
What was the fight over?
Well, because Ben brought them to me.
Yeah.
And he said, when this fight broke, he said, but I'm not contracted to Jane. She's never given me a show. So she has no right to say I can't go to people who know my work and love it. So he turned up and these were laid out. They're all strips, separate strips, because that was the only paper he could get in Finland to work with. And also he could only get black. So he laid them all out on our kitchen table. It was about that size. And being collected, I couldn't pick, they were all separate, but I couldn't pick one out. I wanted them as they were laid, how it was.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I had the whole lot framed together. And then when Jane found out, she was very unpleasant to both of us. I mean, we recovered from it, but poor Ben, I felt, but anyhow, this is the story of his going to Finland to build a cathedral in the woods and then not going home. And he had fallen in love with a Finnish girl. They had a very beautiful wife at home and 3 little children. And so he didn't go, and he didn't go. And I would love him to interpret it. I would love to have the story written out. Yeah. But when the continental outsider art people came round, the woman from Finland looked in here, she said, I know that. We kept saying to him, look, Ben, here is your ticket. Go home. You're 6 weeks in it. What are you doing? And he didn't say why he wouldn't, but I knew why he wouldn't. Yes. And she knew that he wouldn't. And it was so strange to get two sides to this story.
His poor wife and children.
Yes, poor Lily. She's very beautiful.
Is that the love?
I don't know. I didn't know the story when he gave it me, so I never asked him to interpret it. No. He told me later that this had happened. But it's just, look at the references to wood.
Yes, it looks like it's been like a liner or a wood engraving, doesn't it?
It does,
the way it's done.
It's
sort of pen and ink. And I love it. It's almost
there's head coming off.
There's a sort of there is a story, isn't there? Yes. You just need. It's almost like a cartoon strip in the way.
It is like a graphic novel.
Yeah, like a graphic novel. Yeah.
that delicacy. Look at that drawing.
Oh, I hadn't noticed the drawing.
And I like the fish knife.
Yes.
And I can't see what this says. This says, "Go home as the cry from banks of the Thames, as a great whale of Westminster swallowed the swell of the baggy brown waters of Big Ben as he chimed and as time slipped away." I don't know if she wrote this herself or if it's something else. "Go home as the chorus that rose from the crowd and rang round the gargoyled corridors of power. As shoulder to shoulder the kids lifted high for the memory as news crews choppered the sky? News crews choppered the sky. Something must have been happening. On the scaffold, the hard hats placed bets on his life, and the cranes swung their chains as if casting a line. Distressed by the circus, bullied by the tide, the great white whale of Westminster swallowed and dived." Is that lovely? I've never read it before. That's
lovely, isn't it? Beautiful.
She, actually, Kate gave me the light bulb man.
Did she?
Yes.
Oh.
She hadn't space for him. She apparently has armies of them.
Does she?
Yeah. And she gets everything from outside.
Yeah.
And his head came off. So she lives in North London somewhere, but she came all the way over to Notting Hill with a blowtorch and stuff to put his head back on again. I thought that was really good.
Because she can weld as well.
Yes,
of
oh
course.
yes. But I love the contrast between these and the very
I know.
delicate
You wouldn't think
drawings.
it's the same artist, Rose, would you? You know?
Amazing.
It's sort of like Ben, though. Because Ben
Yes.
like, goes from making those wood
Yes.
carvings through
Yes.
to painting chewing
Yeah, I
gum.
mean, huge wooden...
Yeah.
wooden
Then those
people.
drawings. You know?
Yes. No, I like it.
Yeah.
And Virgins of the Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like a go-go, really. But he was, I think he worked mending roads. Brother and I have a folk memory of meeting him and talking to him. And he's big and blonde and sort of large, and that he worked a road drill, which we thought was staggering that he could do this. I'd love to know where he is now. I really don't know.
She's almost Gauguin-esque, isn't
Yes,
she?
I think she is, yes. So I wonder, did he see Gauguin? Did he look at art?
Yes.
And she's different but lovely.
And sort of Gauguin in a way as well.
Yes.
But she is, yeah.
She's more subtle.
Yes. But there's something very lovely about the form, isn't there? You know?
I like that using that
yes.
format.
Yes. And
Yes.
the James Gladwell
No.
piece. So
Well,
James,
you know about
yes.
him, so you talk about
So
him.
James is from Norfolk, and he's supported by a charity called Is Barrington Farm. And James says about how he was taught to stitch by his grandmother, Romany grandmother, and that he learned the skill of how to embroider and stitch work from her. And there's something really, I think, quite not charming, but there's something disarming about a man using something which is so particularly feminine as a technique. There's something I quite like about that, that he's making these very lovely decorative.
Like sailors.
Yes.
Sailors do
That's
it
right.
too.
Yeah,
So
it is.
But what I'm interested in is, when you say he's Romany, these things like mushrooms,
Yeah.
I mean, he would be used to foraging.
Exactly.
That's what he would know all about.
Yeah. Albert Loudon, who is again rather like Scotty, really well-known figure in the sort of British outsider art world, who famously had a very successful exhibition at the Serpentine Gallery. Did you see that? No. Because he was, I think, at that point had been celebrated as like an outsider artist, and then the exhibition was hugely successful.
Yes.
And then the people who had supported him previously said to him, you can no longer be an outsider.
You're too successful.
You're too successful.
Do if you don't, whatever.
Yeah. It's like a catch-22.
Yes.
And he used to write to me quite often saying, what does it mean? What is outsider art?
I do love her work, and I would have loved to have been able to buy the big white one, but I got a little white one.
Yes.
And then she moved into colour.
Yeah.
And they look like the Day of the Dead in Mexico or something.
Yes.
Those big eyes.
Yeah.
They're worrisome, but I like worrisome things. And this one, look at him at the top waving off with a little bird.
I love the red and the black and the white in that rose.
The colour is marvellous.
Isn't it?
And it's so delicate. When you look at it closely, it's like a cobweb. And then this is the bus stop, which I really like, because someone can't make out if it's a bird or a fish on his head. I met her at that same show, the cafe.
Yes, in Southwark Park. I should get it right.
Right.
The Cafe Gallery
in the
project.
park.
Yeah, in the park. Yeah.
She was standing looking at them. I didn't know they were hers. And I went up and started looking at them, and I said, they're lovely, they look so watery. And she said, yes, they are drawings of the sea. And she said, I don't know if it was right then or a bit later, she said she loves the sea because she'd been a purser on the Cunard ships. Those huge rich ships, and she's so little, I couldn't see how she could possibly tell people what to do at this chapter. But she'd been up the St. Lawrence Freeway in one of these whacking great ships.
It's really wonderful drawings, aren't they?
They're wonderful. They are, exquisite drawings, and there's a mermaid's tail there.
Yeah.
I bought it because it was different. I like it when an artist suddenly does something out of character.
Yeah.
And it's the detail and the drawing. Oh, when the woman from the Apollo came to interview me about the collection, and she said that he was like Samuel Palmer.
Yes.
Which I thought was incredible and wonderful thing to say.
There is something Palmer-esque, isn't there?
Look at all the animals, look at the birds. And the cat chasing a bird in a tree.
Yeah, and he's playing with the owl.
Yes.
Is it playing the banjo?
Yeah. He's musical, Phil. He does music things with Carlo.
Yes.
He
Of course he does. Yeah, they run workshops together, don't they?
You could date them, actually. That was the one that he told me the story of first. There's a girls' school nearby, and he had built a sort of a trellis. And he said they used to sit there. They were Muslims. They sat there like blackbirds on this trellis, and they looked so lovely. And he was so pleased he'd done this for them. And then somebody came along and set fire to it. So that's that one. And these two, he was commissioned to build one of his big cathedrals in the woods in Connecticut. And he flew, and he had his chisels and stuff foolishly with him. So when they got to New York Airport, he went through the machine, all hell broke loose. And because he's large and it could be scary, the American airport people put him in a cell.
No.
And for someone like Ben, absolutely terrible. So those two, those are what it was like for him in the cell. But luckily, he was allowed a phone call. Somebody rang Monica, I imagine. She would have got the commission for him and let him out. But it must have been a really horrible experience. That is stuff from the road outside the house. And another thing I've lost, did I show you the flattened drink cans that he'd painted on? No.
I might have done.
They were in the cupboard in here, and I can't find them either. They were crushed drink cans, 7-Up or whatever, which he then painted on. So he likes street stuff.
And recycling. And you mentioned the Manuel drawing.
Yes,
it's got bike in it.
Well, yes, I like motorbikes, and Mark likes motorbikes. So you can talk about it because you know about motorbikes.
So Manuel's probably, I think he entered that wonderful drawing of the mermaid back in 2009, the same time as the Carlin work, and he immediately got picked up. I think Roger Cardinal then wrote an article about him in Raw Vision with Kate Davey. A lot of work in collections, make an alternative reality through your own lens. The way he reimagines a motorbike or a person, it's like it's still there, but it's something else.
It is something else. Yes.
Little Genesis.
Genesis Khan. Well, I thought he was Genius Khan.
Yeah, genius.
Not Genghis Khan. Which is yes, he's gorgeous. He's like a rocker, and because I'm the age I am, I've always liked rockers. I said to him, I really love those two faces, the two heads, and he said, yes, that is the duality, which I'm not sure what he meant, but I liked it anyhow.
I think it's about his mental health.
Yes, he's two people.
I remember him turning up at an event at the gallery with all these like fellow artists from Southampton
Yes,
who
the
he
Southampton.
works with. And, you know, he was just immediately on board and got what we were trying
Yes.
to do.
I bought that one, but I bought it because it says, "I'm here and I'm alive, you bastard." And I felt this was what I had to hang on to. The older I got, the more important it was. I am alive. So that's why I love that one.
Yeah.
And then I bought 2 more, which are over there.
These 2 heroes.
Yes,
yeah?
those 2, because I just thought, you know, well, I have a chance while they're around. I'll get 2 more.
Oh, lovely.
Just that she was one of the ones that I picked on that first,
Yes, first exhibition.
and I don't know why, and just too big to frame. I could never find a place to put it. But she was great. I liked her. I liked her as a person very much. And then I don't know how I knew that she did sculpture, but I found out, and I bought that. It weighs a ton.
Yes.
It's made, I think, of a breeze block. But I didn't know till I put it up there that it was ribbons. I thought it was paint like that. I thought she just painted it.
Yeah.
But they're all ribbon.
She was in the band as well. Did you see her perform in her band?
She would have been quite something.
She was good.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Phil Baird.
That's Phil Baird, and that's the one I bought at that same show called Celestial Hat. I don't understand why there's a celestial hat, but I just like the idea of it. Cosmic hat outside number 5.
So he did a book, didn't he, with these in works?
Yes, I've got a lovely book of small southern drawings.
Yes, I've got that somewhere. He gave me a copy. Very kind. I love the helicopter carrier.
Yes. No, he's very inventive. I don't know why.
That's a lovely drawing, though, isn't it?
It is.
It is a very nice one.
It's lovely when you love the work and you love the person.
Yeah.
That makes such a wonderful relationship.
Yeah, it is.
I saw this one at that first show, probably really a long time ago, and I can remember saying to her, you know, I'm going to buy your painting, and I love it because it's got all these words in it. I just love words in painting. And we sort of met at another one, I think, and we kind of got to be friends, which was lovely. And she has a flat, or she borrows a flat very near us in London, in Westbourne Grove. And so I'd go there and see her amazing sculptures and her paintings and choose them. And I found this, I just feel they're so sad, these paintings. There's something about what must be happening inside her, because she's such a gentle, such a lovely woman, and
very deep.
She must feel so bad.
Things, doesn't she? She must feel things deeply. There's something about the sort of folk art. You know, there's like something all these symbols. You know, there's sort of flowers.
Yes,
it's like it.
But these are happier.
Yeah, they are happier.
There's a lovely boy there.
Yes, and the owl, the wise owl.
Oh. So I wanted 2 of these because they were different. They were happier ones.
Yeah.
And then she stunned me with shrine, saying, would I like a shrine? And I knew she painted icons, and I knew she restored murals when she was trying to find a monastery. She went to a lot of monasteries and did their murals for them. And so I didn't quite know what to expect. I didn't expect anything as detailed and wonderful as that.
How long does it take to make? You know,
about a year. I lost.
There's fish there.
Maybe it's that one.
Little fish in water.
I lost my half brother in the war, who went down with a ship, and so she did one with water. That's the patron saint of sailors. So I got St Luke's and sailors.
Rose, it's been the most wonderful time looking around the collection and talking to you. And I just want to say a huge thanks from myself personally. You know, you've been a huge and important person in my life and very pivotal in the whole outside-in journey. So thank you for your time and for your incredibly generous gift.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and you and Outside In have given me a tremendous amount, absolutely tremendous. It's introduced me to the artists who I love them, and you know, it's been wonderful. It really has.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Made my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's been a wonderful journey to share it with you.
Yes, we'll carry on.
Of course
we
will.
will travel
I
further.
was thinking I was going to come on my motorbike to visit you in London.
Yes, that would
So
be.
the whole neighbourhood's going to hear me arriving.
Yes, we'll go up to the Ace Cafe. Oh, that would be wonderful.